Jasmine's POV. My hand quivered uncontrollably as I clutched my husband's phone. Its screen showed a naked photo sent by an unknown number. A woman wearing only one piece of underwear, her chest towering high and her cleavage exposed. Naked. But that wasn't the part that shocked me the most. My gaze fell on the embroidery on her underwear. It had my name and his on it. I looked more closely to confirm my suspicion. It was the same lingerie couple set I bought that Logan, my husband, had supposedly misplaced during a business trip. The same one I had picked out specifically for a special occasion. I was so certain because it was custom made for us, with our initials embroidered on it, J and L. My mouth hung open, and I hadn't even realized how much my tears had spilled until I felt them on my chin. I zoomed in to try to find out why this woman looked oddly familiar, and then a crescent-shaped mole on the woman's cleavage hit me like lightning. My stomach twisted. Only one person I knew had such, Samantha, my best friend. Every detail pointed to her, from her freshly painted white nails to the leg chains she always wore. How could it be? They don't even know each other in person. When did they meet? Countless questions in my head squeezed my reasoning tightly. Just then, Logan's car horn blared repeatedly, yanking me out of my spiraling thoughts. Hastily, I wiped my tears and adjusted my hair, composing myself. He was signaling for his phone. It was one of those days he forgot it in his morning rush to leave for work, a habit of his. As I handed it to him, I swallowed the bile rising in my throat. I couldn't even look him in the eyes because my eyes would betray the turmoil brewing inside of me. My stomach churned with anguish, yet I had no idea how to react. I wanted to unleash my fury, scream at him, and throw the phone in his face. But my remaining sanity told me that I had to find more favorable evidence to put myself in a favorable position. I bit back my emotions to prevent an angry outburst and played along, saving my rebellion for later. "Thanks, babe. Love you," he said casually, taking the phone and driving off without so much as a second glance. He didn't even wait for my response as usual, just a casual dismissal. His recent change in attitude was beginning to make sense now. As a devoted warrior-ranked member of the Gold Crescent pack, I had pledged to uphold my trust and loyalty to the love of my life, Logan, with every fiber of my being. Never have I doubted his loyalty to the very foundation of our mate bond. I was well aware that he was a jealous lover who had once engaged in a fight with one of my admirers long before our mating, nearly giving him an irreparable mark. But cheating? Never have I given room for such what-ifs. How would I have known that Logan's devotion to our bond didn't mirror mine? I watched his car disappear, my fists clenched tightly at my sides. Logan, the revered CEO of Prime Company of Gold Crescent Pack, had just stomped on our bond as if it meant nothing. I scoffed in disbelief. Despite my potential of graduating with honors, topping my class, and being the best student in most of the tough place courses, including kickboxing, I had thrown it all away to be a full-time housewife, just to support and please Logan. I became the woman he wanted, not the woman I dreamed of being. I had been naive, no, foolish. My heart burned with a raging fire that no ice could extinguish. Fresh tears threatened to spill, but I held them back. I was done crying. I would not continue to be a doormat. They had done enough already. And Samantha? Her betrayal cut even deeper, knowing she was the one helping him destroy the mate bond. She knew the pack's rules. Disrespecting a mate bond is punishable by exile, yet she risked it all. Or was Logan confident because his uncle, the new alpha of our pack, would protect him? Whatever the case, I couldn't take it anymore. Locking the door behind me, I retrieved my phone from the TV console and sat on the floor, scrolling through my contacts. My fingers hovered over a name, Rose, a lawyer and my close friend from way back in college. I gulped, anxiety clawing at my chest. Could I really do this? My hands shook as I typed out the email body. After much reflection, I have come to the difficult decision to request a divorce from Logan. I need help with the papers as fast as the speed of light. I hit send. After this, an idea hit me, and I immediately knew what to do next. I had to get a clear evidence that Logan was an ungrateful mate, disrespectful and disloyal to the mate bond. Without further ado, I dialed Samantha's phone number. Her high-pitched voice cut through the phone. I invited her over for dinner, explaining that it was a chance for her to meet my husband in person. and as my best friend, it wasn't right that she had never met my mate ever since she came back to Straddletown. As I expected, she accepted the invitation without hesitation. I scoffed bitterly. Tonight was the night I would see them for who they truly were. A few hours later, Logan arrived home. "Hey babe, what's the occasion?" he asked, tossing off his shoes. I told him I'd invited Samantha over for dinner, a chance for him to meet my best friend in person. "What's wrong? Are you okay?" he asked, noticing my tense demeanor. I shrugged it off, claiming I was just tired. His jaw clenched in frustration, but he dropped the subject. He will find out in no distant time that I've discovered the skeleton in his cupboard. Soon the doorbell rang, signaling Samantha's arrival. I opened the door to find her dressed in a skimpy outfit, her breasts almost spilling out of her dress. A fake smile plastered her face, unaware that I had discovered who she truly was, a viper disguised as a friend. It took everything in me to reciprocate her cheerful demeanor, forcing a polite smile as I ushered her in. We were already seated for dinner when I introduced them to each other. I watched them act like they've never met each other, thinking they were fooling me, but they didn't realize I caught their stolen glances and shared smirks. Desperation danced in Samantha's eyes as I noticed a subtle movement from Logan. His body stiffened while his eyes clouded with lust. A clandestine glance under the table confirmed my suspicions. Her foot was extended, resting firmly on his groin. It was an unmistakable sign of their intimacy. Clearing my throat, I forced a brittle smile. "Hope you're enjoying dinner," I said, barely containing the rage boiling inside me. I felt my control slipping, as though I might lose it at any moment. I excused myself to the kitchen, under the pretense that I had to check on something. I couldn't believe what was happening right under my nose. In the kitchen, I pulled out my phone and quickly checked the surveillance monitoring app on it. My heart dropped as I saw Samantha leaning closer to Logan and slipping something into my wine. This was unforgivable. To what extent did they want to go just for a few seconds of stolen pleasure? I was disgusted. I strained my eyes to confirm the tablets in her hands. They were sleeping pills. Logan smirked at her mischievous action, giving her a thumbs up. I returned to the table, apologizing for the delay, picked up the wine glass, and pretended to take a few sips. Samantha continued to chatter as usual, obviously more interested in keeping her secret lover engaged. Later, as we moved to the living room, I wobbled on my feet, feigning dizziness. "Take it easy, babe. You might need to rest. Probably stress from preparing the sumptuous meal," Logan said, holding my arm tightly as though he cared. "Yeah, the room is spinning. I must be so tired," I slurred, wrapping my arms around his neck as I played along. He quickly guided me to the closest bedroom, the guest room close by. After tucking me in, he slammed the door behind him. But they weren't aware that I had outsmarted them. I could hear their excitement. Moments later, I heard muffled moans and grunts. They were already having sex. A harsh reminder that their affair wasn't just a mistake. My stomach twisted as bile rose in my throat, but I swallowed it down. Navigating to my surveillance app, I hit the record button. I rarely checked the monitoring app, often forgetting I even had it installed, but desperate times called for drastic measures. My wolf stirred, trying to take control, but I refused to let her. I couldn't take it anymore, couldn't watch them lust over each other aggressively. I turned off the phone, disgusted by their betrayal. Goosebumps spread across my skin as tears burned my eyes. My stomach churned with agony, but I had to steady my nerves and think more clearly. Logan wasn't worthy of my love. I should have left the first time I saw a red flag, but I stayed. I stayed through his late nights, his lies, the suspicious phone calls, and even the female belongings I found in his car. He had his smart ways of concealing his deception. I was too blinded by my loyalty to him, hence why I have stayed in the dark for too long, being the perfect wife in a perfect marriage. But not anymore. My love was so meaningless to him that betraying me required no second thought. Clutching the pillow tightly, I muffled my sobs. Tonight I mourned the life I lost, but as the tears dried, a new determination rushed through me. Tomorrow, it will all be over. I will make Logan sign the divorce papers to sever all ties with him. He will have no choice but to. I had enough evidence to prove that he has brought nothing but shame to our marriage bond. a bond that our pact held sacred. I will never forgive him for the pain he has brought to me. I must reclaim the life he took away from me. Jasmine. I sat in my living room amidst the ruins of my marriage as Rose's words echoed while she sat across from me. How could Logan have the temerity to disrespect the marriage bond? She gasped, her eyes blazing red, a testament of her outrage on my behalf. It was the morning after Logan's shameful act, and I had invited Rose to our home. She was the only close person I could confide in. I had sat alone assembling the shattered pieces of my heart a few hours after Logan left the house, but suddenly, I couldn't bear it alone. The weight of the betrayal was crushing, and I thought I was going crazy, so I called her to come over with the divorce papers. I needed to be in the company of someone who understood my plight. As soon as she arrived, she gave me a warm hug and words of comfort. I broke down in sobs and explained in detail the events that have left me devastated and mortified. I just don't know what to do at this point. I'm done for good, I said to her, leaning slightly into the couch. She tried to pacify me, but I wasn't having any of it. Then she quickly pulled out a stack of papers and handed them over to me. Here are the divorce papers. Terms are tight. Logan won't walk away with a penny with this divorce agreement. You can't let him have any. As much as I was worried about the divorce settlement, I was also worried about something else, whether justice would prevail. In our pack, the Alpha had the final decision about a divorce settlement, and it was no news that Logan's uncle, the one widely spoken about but only a few have seen, was the new Alpha of the pack. I wondered how his relationship with Logan would affect his decision, and I couldn't shake off the negative outcome that kept clouding my mind. Time passed in a blur with Rose still by my side, trying all she could to keep my spirit up. But the atmosphere in the house grew increasingly suffocating. Every corner, every scent, a constant reminder of their betrayal. Rose sensed my distress and suggested we step out for some fresh coffee. Reluctantly, I agreed, and soon we were on our way to her renowned café, La Rosa Café. As we sat outside, sipping our coffee and watching the bustling scenery, I tried to distract myself by asking Rose about her love interest, Alpha Zephr. Her face lit up when I mentioned Alpha Zephr, whom she was always eager to talk about. Soon, we were giggling, and for a brief moment, the conversation took my mind off my troubles. However, this moment was suddenly interrupted. My phone rang, and Samantha's name flashed severally on the screen like a cruel taunt. She was probably calling to chatter as usual, unaware that I'd uncovered who she truly was. I was hesitant at first, but I picked up and put her on speaker. She asked if I was at home because she wanted to catch up. I glanced at Rose, who nodded encouragingly. I shared my location with her, and she joined us a few minutes later, her presence carrying the stench of betrayal. I could barely look at her without replaying the haunting video of Logan thrusting into her. She asked why I seemed low on energy, but I brushed it off, pretending to focus on my phone. Rose, sensing that the atmosphere was getting uncomfortable, excused herself to attend to something, leaving me alone with Samantha. She gave me a signaling wink while she left. I knew Rose wanted me to face the cruel squarely. With a newfound determination, I texted Logan, requesting that he pick me up from the cafe. "Logan will be here to pick me up soon," I said to Samantha, watching her reaction closely. "Oh, really? You've got yourself such a sweet man." Her saccharine sweetness grated on my nerves. She tugged at her blouse, pulling it down further to reveal more cleavage, and casually reapplied her lipstick. Her audacity was nauseating. Her eyes sparkled as soon as she spotted Logan walking towards us. She was trying so hard to mask her excitement, but I could see through her. Logan's face adorned with a sickeningly charming smile as he walked towards us. "Babe," he greeted, leaning in to kiss my cheek. I coughed, dodging his attempt. The very sight of him disgusted me. He furrowed his brow in confusion but shrugged it off. "Hi, Samantha," Logan greeted, extending a hand to her. A smug smirk tugged at his lips as his thumb lingered on her skin longer than necessary. "Logan," she replied, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. Their mutual thrill made it clear they thought I was oblivious to their disgusting game. The very thought made my blood boil. Trying to act like the perfect husband, Logan wrapped an arm around me for a side hug. That was my breaking point. I shoved him away with all my strength and slapped him hard across the face. What? Samantha stood abruptly, but before she could say more, I grabbed my hot coffee and splashed it across both their faces. Gasps erupted from the café patrons, followed by a sharp laugh from Rose, who stood at the counter, watching the drama unfold. "What is the meaning of this behavior, Jasmine?" Logan demanded. Instead of answering, I pulled the divorce papers from my bag and threw them in his face. "There's your answer." His eyes widened as they landed on the bold title, Divorce Agreement. "Have you lost it? What is this?" he barked. "What do you think it is? You cheat? Sign them right now and free me from this sham of a marriage. I want nothing to do with you again." I turned to Samantha, rage coursing through me. "I always knew you were a dumb bitch, but never did I think you were also a low-life homewrecker." Logan grabbed my wrist, his nose flaring in anger. "Don't provoke me, Jasmine. Do you even understand the gravity of your accusations? How could you degrade me like this?" "Shut up, you manipulative liar. This isn't an accusation, it's the truth. If I didn't know him better, I might have doubted myself. But Logan was a seasoned gaslighter, and I'd caught him in the act." "Babe," he started, but I cut him off. "Don't. I have detailed evidence of your escapades." Samantha, still clutching her burning face, stammered, "Jasmine, what has come over you? I only just met Logan yesterday. Come on." "You snake," I snapped, glaring at her. "You came back just to steal my husband, ex-husband." I corrected myself. "You've always been jealous of what I have, but you know what? You can have him. You two deserve each other." Logan's mask of innocence began to slip. "Stop creating a scene, Jasmine. You wanted attention, and now you've got it. Just drop it." He didn't realize his statement provoked me even further. I wanted everyone to see him for what he truly was, very selfish, a sheep in wolf's clothing. I wasn't going to let him get away with it. If they go low, I go lower. I walked to the back counter and connected the main TV to my phone, revealing compilations of their shenanigans on the big screen. The room filled with murmurs of shock as their moans echoed from the speakers. Though I had spared them their last shred of dignity by censoring the video, it was clear enough for anyone to recognize them. I stood there, watching as they squirmed in discomfort, their faces flushed with embarrassment. I smirked, watching their faces pale. "Jasmine, it's not what you think," Logan stammered. "Please, baby, we can work this out." Tears welled up in Samantha's eyes. "Jasmine, she stuttered, unable to form a sentence. Their apologies meant nothing. An apology wouldn't turn back time or undo their betrayal. "Save it. Just sign the damn divorce papers. I don't want to be in the presence of disgusting slums." Logan hesitated, but, under the weight of the crowd's gaze, he reluctantly signed the papers. I reached for them, but he held on with a dark look in his eyes. "You know, Jennifer, keep in mind that my uncle won't let you off easily. I promise you that." I feigned a sarcastic laugh. "Oh, spare me, Logan. I'm done with your cheating ass for good. You and your dumb bitch can go to the deepest pits of hell for all I care," I retorted. But deep down, fear took the better part of me. An unsettling chill ran through my body, and I gulped. He knew his uncle better than I did, and what if he were right? Had I just dug my own grave by starting a war I wasn't so sure I could finish? Would they turn this table around and have me expelled from the pack instead?
"Jasmine." "Calm down," Rose called out as I paced back and forth in her office at the café, my chest tightening with anxiety. "How can I calm down, Rose? Didn't you hear what he said?" I spun around to face her. My voice was trembling slightly. "Do you even know what this means? What if the new alpha declared otherwise by manipulating the pack's rules? Or worse, what if he's as dishonest as Logan?" Little was known about the newly assigned alpha due to his busy schedule except for his name, Alpha Maverick. Rumors about his fairness or ruthlessness were unhelpful whispers. I could only hope he would remain impartial, even with Logan as his blood relative. Under the Gold Pack's rulebook, severing a mate bond required the Alpha's approval. Worse still, the guilty party faced expulsion, which is a befitting punishment for disrespecting soul tie. I sank into the office chair, running my fingers through my hair as my thoughts spiraled. "I will lose everything, Rose. I wouldn't even know where to begin from. I have no job, just a useless housewife." Rose crouched in front of me, her hands resting gently on my knees. Listen to me. If it comes to that, you leave this forsaken gold pack and join mine. The red blood pack will take you in with open arms. Do you hear me? If the new alpha banishes you, it will only mean one thing, that you're too good for them. You will start fresh and build something for yourself. Don't doubt what you're capable of, okay? I nodded, though the storm inside me refused to settle at all. Logan would stop at nothing to avoid accountability for his despicable act, and I knew it. Rose's expression brightened as she stood up. What you need now is to unwind. How about a drink at a nearby bar to calm those nerves and toast to a new beginning? Her enthusiasm was infectious, and I agreed almost immediately, eager for a brief escape from my reality, even if it was only for a few moments. As she drove us to a nearby bar, my mind raced with doubts. Could I truly face the challenge of starting all over in the red blood pack? It would mean leaving behind everything I'd ever known and starting from square zero. But damn the consequences, I knew my worth. The loud bass of music filled the air as we arrived. Sitting on a bar stool, we reminisced about our college days, laughing and savoring the moment. Just as I was beginning to relax, Rose's phone pinged. She glanced at the screen and sighed. There's an emergency back at the café. My mood dampened at the news. I'll be back as soon as possible, okay? Get drunk and nasty, she teased with a wink before leaving. I laughed, shaking my head as I watched her walk away. Turning my attention back to my champagne flute, I sipped slowly, letting the burning taste trail down my throat. But suddenly, the room started spinning. I tried to focus, blinking several times, but everything became a blur. I tried to focus again, but then I saw Samantha from a distance, ordering something at the counter with a cunning look in her eyes. A loud frequency pierced through my ears, and I couldn't decipher what was happening, which made me question my sanity. Did I really see her, or was it a fragment of my imagination? I stood up and tried to leave, but my knees buckled beneath me. I fell, waiting for an impact that never came. Through my hazy mind, I picked up a strong scent that made my panties wet. It was oud and leather. I could feel my mate's strings trembling. Then I noticed a tall frame standing beside me, a man. His lips were moving, and I blinked several times, trying to make sense of what he was saying. "Where are you from? Are you okay?" I was so high I couldn't give the stranger any reasonable answers to his questions. If I was in my right senses, embarrassment would be an understatement. But currently, I couldn't care less. Open it. What's your address? How could I tell him I didn't have a home? I couldn't even remember my phone's password. I was too focused on his ocean eyes and sharp jawline, his full, plump lips. "Can you hear me? Do you understand?" he asked, his voice cutting through my haze. I gulped, knowing I was openly checking him out, and even though I wasn't in the right state of mind, I couldn't deny his allure. "Mate," my wolf exclaimed. "So this was it? My true mate? At this time?" As I teetered on the brink of embarrassment, to my rescue he came. He guided me into a car and drove me out to a destination I couldn't decipher at first. But as he led me into a building, I realized it was an opulent hotel. Although I knew nothing about him, I still felt safe. He guided me into a suite, his touch sending a burning trail of anticipation down my spine. The moment he laid me on the bed, my entire body ignited, every brush of his fingertips sparking an ache deep in my core. Even through the haze of desire clouding my mind, I craved the feel of his body pressed against mine. He started to pull away, but I couldn't let him. "Don't, stay." My voice trembled. The moist heat between my thighs pulsed insistently, demanding more than just lingering touches. I rubbed my legs together in desperation, chasing friction that wasn't enough. His eyes darkened as I reached for him, my fingers curling around his wrist. Without hesitation, I straddled his lap, my hips rolling against his rigid length. He groaned, with his jaw tightening, but still held back. "Calm down, minx," he rasped. "I need you," I whispered, his breath hitched as his resolve shattered. I can't recall exactly what happened afterwards, but I woke up staring in an unfamiliar room in shock as sunlight spilled into it. Despite the confusion, a deep satisfaction lingered. Fragments of the night remained hazy, but I could remember his hard thrusts vividly. I went feral, every inch of my body rekindling. A faint smile curved my lips as I stretched, savoring the quiet. But when my gaze turned to the other side of the bed and my heart sank, the space was empty. He was gone. A heavy ache settled in my chest, twisting painfully as realization washed over me. Even my mate didn't want me. Was I never enough for anyone? Tears pricked my eyes, but I forced myself to blink them away. No, I wouldn't allow self-doubt to take root. I was done with betrayal, done with the hurt. All I wanted now was peace. If love was meant to find me again, it would. With renewed determination, I grabbed my phone and called Logan. He answered almost immediately, as if he had been waiting for me to call. Without wasting any time, I told him to meet me at the Werewolf City Hall to start the process of finalizing the divorce. This was it, the end. If he thought he still had a chance with me, he was sorely mistaken. Logan was a chapter I was ready to close for good, and I was determined to turn the page to a new beginning.
Jasmine. Quickly, I threw off the luxurious bed cover and began dressing up. As I glanced around, I noticed the opulent high chandeliers and exquisite artwork adorning the walls. It didn't take a genius to deduce that I was in a presidential suite. I read the inscriptions on the unique pieces of furniture closely. This was not just a suite in a random hotel, but one in the exclusive Crimson Blood Hotel. Oh gosh! I held my throbbing head as I realized that my fated mate might be a man of immense wealth, because not just anyone could afford such a suite. It was only patronized by the elite. I shrugged off the thought of his status. It should be the least of my problems. I shouldn't be bothered about a mate who obviously ran off the first night with no explanations. Besides, I still had to finalize my divorce with Logan, and being seen here was risky enough and could be used against me. I had to keep it low. Hurriedly, I grabbed my belongings, and soon I was out of the hotel. I flagged down a cab and slid into the back seat. "Where to, ma'am?" the driver asked. For a moment, I froze. Home? That place no longer felt like home. Swallowing back my emotions, I gave him Rose's address instead. "No, 7 Royal Blue, West Side," I murmured. As the cab pulled away, I unlocked my phone, only to be bombarded by a flood of missed calls and messages from Rose. My stomach churned as I read through her frantic texts, sent since last night. "Where are you? Are you okay? I'm calling the cops." Last night's events replayed in pieces as I tried to fix the puzzle. My pulse quickened when I remembered Samantha's smirk from across the baroom. Could she have had something to do with this? Ping! A new email notification snapped me out of my thoughts. It was from the PAC registry notifying me that my divorce with Logan will be finalized by 10 a.m. prompt at the Werewolf Hall. The registry couldn't contact me without someone starting the process. The Werewolf City Hall? My stomach nodded. Did this mean the new alpha had returned? Did Logan contact him? What was Logan up to? After 3 years, Logan's uncle, Alpha Maverick, might have finally returned to reclaim the gold pack. He had left it under the watch of Beta Kazim while he pursued his business. I pinched the bridge of my nose, knowing I would likely be back to square zero if he took sides with his blood. A divorced, former housewife, expelled with nothing from her previous pack. I didn't know how I'd survive, but I was certain I would. Giving up was not one of my attributes. "We're here, ma'am," the driver announced, pulling me from my spiraling thoughts. I handed him cash, muttered a quick thank you, and rushed inside Rose's house. She was wiping down her coffee table when I entered. "What the hell, Jasmine? You had me worried sick. Where did you disappear to?" Sophie's voice rose as she followed me into the kitchen. "Are you even listening to me? The waiter said you left with a man." Ignoring her barrage of questions, I chugged down a glass of water. "I think Samantha set me up, but I will explain everything later, okay?" "How? That bastard," she yelled. "Right now I need to get dressed. It seems my request for divorce was approved. Not sure, sort of, but I have to be at the head registry before 10 a.m. Her eyes darted to the clock. "It's already 9:07. I'm driving you." "Thank you," I muttered. All I wanted now was to freshen up and get the divorce over with. Rummaging through Sophie's wardrobe, since I hadn't retrieved my things from Logan's house, I searched for something appropriate to wear. After some digging, I settled on a formal gown that would suffice for the occasion. A concerned Rose insisted on accompanying me to the Werewolf City Hall to ensure the process went smoothly. When we arrived at the registry, Logan and Samantha were already waiting for me, with smug expressions plastered across their faces. Logan's eyes raked over my body, lingering on my curves. His jaw tightened before he quickly looked away. I recognized that look all too well, jealousy. Samantha, on the other hand, wore her usual smug expression, and something in her eyes told me she had a hand in whatever happened last night. After all, she has proven to be a foe, not a friend, and spiking my drink was not far from what she could do. "Oh, see who finally graced us with her filthy presence," Samantha sneered, her lips curling with malicious hatred. "The shameless whore, pointing her fingers at others when hers aren't clean either. You're here." Ignoring her like she was nothing, because, frankly, her words no longer affected me, I turned my gaze back to Logan. "Shall we?" But it was as if my silence drove her over the edge, and I was hell-bent on not giving her the attention she craved. Stomping her feet like a child, she moved inches closer to me and continued, "How did you spend your night with your lover? It's going around town that you were whoring around. You'll never win against us, so cut this act and drop the case." Rose and I shared a knowing look. Her words confirmed what I'd suspected. Samantha had spiked my drink last night. Fury flooded through me, but I couldn't retaliate without solid proof. Logan scoffed, his anger barely contained. I knew it wasn't just about the divorce, but also his bruised ego. "I demand 100% of marital assets and 90% of your financial shares in the bank. Not only have you invaded my privacy and defamed my character, but you've also caused me emotional trauma by disregarding our mate bond. I curse the day we bound our souls under the holy watch of the moon goddess." I almost laughed out loud. The audacity of this man. Trying to encroach on my meager shares. How could he twist the truth when his infidelity was the real issue? But then again, I shouldn't be surprised by his greed. After all, one woman had never been enough for him. I didn't care anymore. Let him have everything if it meant I could finally sever ties with the gold pack without facing a humiliating expulsion. I agreed to leave the pack with nothing of his, signing away my rights. Logan couldn't hide his surprise. I knew he hadn't expected me to concede without a fight, but I was done. As I reached for the papers, about to sign them, a familiar scent stopped me dead in my tracks. "Logan," a sultry voice cut through the tension. "My pack, my rules. You cannot commit such atrocities under my reign and expect to go scot-free. It is you who will be leaving the pack instead." The room fell silent as a tall figure strode in, his royal blue suit fitting perfectly over his broad shoulders. My eyes slowly traveled up, meeting his face. His ocean blue eyes locked onto mine, freezing my world. "No, this can't be." I thought he fled without a word. What was he doing at the registry, with a presence commanding attention, like he ruled here? My senses heightened at the scent of his power mixed with the richness of leather, sending a shiver down my spine. My wolf, calm until now, began pacing and howling wildly, willing to lay her life in submission to the man before me. It confirmed what I already knew. He was mine. "What?" Logan stammered, his once confident composure crumbling with each passing moment. My breath hitched as I stared at my fated mate, awestruck by the confidence and authority that he exuded. His pack? It only meant one thing. He was the alpha of the Gold Crescent pack. It couldn't be. Was the moon goddess playing a game of twisted fate on me?
Alpha Maverick's POV. Can you believe it? She framed me with heavily doctored photos and videos, and now she wants a divorce. Logan sighed in frustration over the phone. As I made my way to meet a business associate from the Blue Lagoon pack, he filled my ear with his complaints. I had just received a call from my nephew, explaining that his wife was accusing him of infidelity. She was also attempting to use false evidence to acquire their marital assets. "I'll be there as soon as possible, and we'll look into it," I replied, cutting the call. But something didn't sit right with me. Logan has never complained about his mate. Why would she suddenly demand a divorce after they had agreed to be mates? I dialed Alpha Tristan of the Blue Lagoon pack. "We need to reschedule our meeting," I said. "Something urgent has come up." The Gold Pack's divorce procedures required the Alpha's presence to confirm the separation of bonded souls, so I had to return to my pack immediately after nearly 3 years away. Marriage was sacred in my pack, and if anything would sever sacred ties, it had to be justified. Since assuming the title of Alpha, I had been consumed with business, building alliances with humans and other packs, and delegating pack affairs to Beta Kazim. But as always, my first duty was to my pack. I let out a sigh, glancing at my phone. If Logan's telling the truth, I'd move heaven and earth to get him justice. If he's lying, I wouldn't hesitate to execute the punishment he deserves. Blood or not, I adhered to my principles. I didn't bend the rules for anyone, not even for family. I booked my flight home, then found a nearby bar where I could unwind in peace before everything started to get chaotic. While sipping on my drink, I sent an email to Beta Kazim, instructing him to investigate the situation with the Gamma and the PAC's Defense and Security Squad, DSS. I needed an immediate investigation with a detailed report. This wasn't the sort of matter I took lightly. Mistakes that cost marriages had no place in my pack. I rolled my eyes as a group of flirtatious she-wolves eyed me from across the room. How shameless. Little did they know, they weren't even on my radar. Not to sound cocky or anything, I knew what it meant to be beautiful because I'm full of it. I had the looks, the allure, enough to make any goddess jealous. At 30, I had women falling at my feet, but I wasn't interested in meaningless flings. My fated mate was out there somewhere, and I refused to settle for anything less. Instead of engaging in pointless distractions, I always drowned myself in work, my one true solace. I had learned long ago that idle hands were dangerous, so I kept myself busy. My sister didn't understand, though. She worried about me, complaining about my bad habits of drowning myself with work and missing out on the pleasures of life, and urging me to choose a suitable Luna to help share the burden of pack duties. I could easily marry someone from a neighboring pack to strengthen alliances, but I wanted my mate. I would wait for her, no matter how long it took. I took another swig of whiskey, feeling my system becoming more resistant with every shot. But then, I caught a whiff, a scent that shook me to my core, a blend of jasmine, blossoms, and cherry. My wolf stirred within me, reacting uncontrollably. Mate? Before I could think, I followed the scent, my eyes landing on her. She was unreal, beautiful in a way I couldn't describe. My gaze trailed over her, but it was her lips that drew me in. Full, inviting, making insatiable desires stir deep within me. Could it really be happening? After all these years, I had finally found her. And to my shock, she was part of my pack. She wobbled, and I rushed her before she fell. But something was off. The intoxicating scent was mingled with alcohol. My nose flared, picking up another scent, a trace of Cyril, a drug often used to spike drinks by predators. Anger rushed through my veins, and for a moment I couldn't think straight. Someone had drugged my mate. "Where are you from? Are you okay?" I asked, but she couldn't form a coherent response. Her cheeks flushed with embarrassment as she struggled to stay upright. I searched her bag, hoping to find something I could identify her with, but I only found a locked phone in her tiny purse. Her confusion was obvious. She couldn't even tell her phone password. She was high. Realizing how dangerous it would be to leave her alone, I decided to take her to my presidential suite. Alpha?" The receptionist on the floor, surprised to see me, glanced nervously between me and the woman in my arms. I had no time to explain. My mate was in distress. I dashed to my room and laid her on the bed. Then I called the bar manager to produce the CCTV footage and send it to Beta Kazim. I needed the CCTV footage to find the bastard who'd tried to take advantage of her. I leaned in, carefully brushing strands of hair away from her eyes. But as I tried to pull back, she gripped my hand tightly, her eyes pleading for me to stay. I stayed, and she moaned softly. The scent of her arousal filled my senses, only intensifying the desire that had been simmering within me. I fought to resist as the drug in her system took hold. My wolf and I battled for control, each of us vying for dominance, until one of us finally snapped. The alcohol in my system only made it harder to stay in control. She rubbed her legs together, her voice shaky as she begged, "Please, help me." She was in heat, and I knew just how excruciating it could be. But that wasn't the only concern. Her scent was so overpowering that a male wolf 4 floors away would be able to perceive it. In the end, I gave in. And throughout the night, an alpha who had men begging at my feet, was the same man brought to his knees, savoring every inch of her. She belonged to me, body and soul. She is mine, mine to have, mine to love, and as the night stretched on, I showed her how true those words were. Dawn broke, and I woke to find her still wrapped in my arms. I couldn't help but admire the form beside me, but then my phone buzzed with a report from Kazim. My heart sank as I read the details. My mouth hung open as I scrolled through photos attached. Then it dawned on me. The woman in my bed, my fated mate, was also Logan's soon-to-be ex-wife. Hell no. Logan was a jerk. How could he do this to my fated mate and try manipulating it for his selfish interest? I wasn't one to back down, and no matter what, I would get justice for her. She was my fated mate, and her problems became mine. I wasn't willing to let her go. By my side, she would be. Not just as my significant other, but as the Luna of the gold pack. I quickly threw on my clothes before she could wake. I needed to freshen up and head to City Hall to declare the result of the divorce, but not before stopping by a jewelry shop to buy a diamond ring to claim my long-awaited mate. I informed Kazim, telling him to meet me there. I knew her ring size, having held her hand as she rode the waves of ecstasy the night before. In fact, I knew every detail, every curve, and every bump of her body, even with my eyes closed. The connection had been established. Once I was ready, I entered the office, calling out Logan on his bullshit. My eyes landed on my potential mate as she stood midair, a pen in hand, about to sign, with her mouth agape. "It's you who should be leaving the pack," I said coldly to Logan. "What do you mean, Uncle?" Logan stammered. "Alpha, you mean? Show some respect," I growled. "I've looked into this, and I know what you've done. You're not just guilty. You've tried to sabotage the Luna of the gold pack." "The Luna?" His words echoed in confusion through the room. I didn't spare him an extra glance. He had to pay for his deeds. My focus shifted to my mate, and I walked toward her with purpose. Dropping to one knee, I pulled out the diamond ring, holding it up to claim her. "Under the light of the full moon, I pledge myself to you," I declared, my voice firm and clear. "Will you marry me and stand by my side as my mate?" I didn't wait for her response before slitting the ring onto her finger as she stood frozen in shock. "Yes," I said softly. "You heard me right, my fated mate. I have waited for this day for so long." The room erupted in gasps, but I only had eyes for her.
Jasmine. Shock pinned my feet to the floor. I couldn't believe what was unfolding before me. My heart raced while my mind went blank. I froze, the pen in my hand halting midair. The tension in the room thickened as my gaze shifted between the Alpha and Logan. Before I could react, Alpha dropped to one knee and slid a diamond ring onto my finger. My heart pounded against my chest at his claim, stunned by his choice, a clear indication that he was not one to be influenced by perceived loyalty to bloodline. I couldn't believe that this mystery man did not flee after all. But the question burning in my mind was, how had he uncovered the truth? Glancing around the room, I noticed the shocked expressions on everyone's faces as he got off his feet, admiring his assertion on my fingers. He quickly glanced at the papers on the desk, grabbed them, and flipped through them. 100% of marital assets to you, Logan. What a joke. How did you think I would be a party to this atrocity? He ordered Beta Kazim, who came alongside him, to bring in the divorce papers they prepared, shocking us all. "Sign this, Jasmine. It's over between you two." A smirk curved his lips as he said my name, savoring it. My heart skipped a beat, and the craziest part was I loved the way he said it. Logan was the first to break the silence. "What do you mean, Alpha?" "That is my wife right there," he protested, his voice rising. Rage flooded through me, but I fought to keep my emotions in check, holding my anger on a tight leash. How dare he refer to me as his now? "Your wife," Alpha Maverick snapped, beating me to it. "How dare you utter that? Aren't you a little shameless, Logan? After all you've put her through, she is no longer your wife, get that? The moon goddess has fated her to me. There will be no contention, so don't argue with me, or I swear you won't like what comes next." His voice rumbled with authority, shaking the ground beneath us. Logan gulped, his body trembling despite the false bravado on his face. "Here you go. Sign it," Alpha Maverick commanded, pushing the divorce papers toward me. "From now on, the bond between you both is severed under my witness." I turned to Logan. His face was drained of all color as he glanced between me and his uncle. Alpha Maverick's voice cut through the silence again. "Logan, you have lost your position as the CEO of Prime, and Jasmine retains 100% of the marital assets." He strode toward Logan, his large frame dominating the space as he leaned down to meet his eyes. In a low, commanding voice, he said, "You will start again from scratch. Build your own name, not under my shadow. You are unworthy of being called the CEO of Prime because of your dishonesty. I gave you that privilege as my nephew, but now, stand on your own feet and be your own man. I will take charge now. Try collecting your spot back, and prove yourself if you can. For now, I shall sail the ship. After he was done, without hesitation, I signed the divorce papers, severing all ties with Logan. Everyone out, Maverick ordered as soon as Logan signed. I need to be alone with my significant other. The room cleared quickly, leaving me alone with Alpha Maverick. Not even Samantha could talk in his presence. I thought she would foolishly bring up her claims. My breath became uneven as he stepped closer, the warmth of his body enveloping me. The scent that clung to him overwhelmed my senses, driving me to the edge. My wolf stirred, salivating in response. "Nervous?" he whispered, his breath fanning against my skin, leaving goosebumps in its wake. There was barely any space between us. I gulped hard, a brief vision flashing in my mind. My legs wrapped around the Alpha's waist as he thrust into me. The dark look in his eyes told me he'd thought the same. But just as quickly as the thought appeared, it vanished. I tried to blink away the image, fearing he'd catch the scent of my arousal. "Alpha Maverick," I began hesitantly, "as your fated mate, I know it means I am the Luna of the Gold Pack. But I have been a full-time housewife for so long. I'm not sure if I can fulfill the role efficiently." I forced myself to continue, even as his intense gaze threatened to distract me. "And it could tarnish your reputation if the pack finds out I was your nephew's ex-mate. It might even affect your alliances." He smiled softly, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. The gentle gesture sent a shiver down my spine. "Is that what you're worried about, Jasmine?" he asked. "This is just the beginning of our relationship. I'm not suggesting you force anything. You can lay low and start slow. The fact that you're already thinking about my reputation shows you're more than capable of being a Luna." His reassurance eased the tension in my body that I didn't even acknowledge. I felt myself relax in his presence, my initial stoicism melting away. I nodded before adding, "But before I can find my way as Luna, I need to find myself first. I have to rediscover who I am. And although we're mates, we need to get to know one another, see if we're truly compatible." He began, cutting through my train of words. "No, Alpha Maverick. Let me speak my mind, at least permit me to." I interrupted. "I'm not done. I suggest we try a contract marriage for a year. If we're a fit, we can accept the bond. If not, we can reject each other." My voice wavered as I continued. "I can't make the same mistake again. Once bitten, twice shy." His hand cupped my cheek, stroking gently as I leaned into his touch. "You're mature enough to know what you want, Jasmine. I won't dictate that for you. If you need time to explore the world or seek security in a contract marriage, I'll respect that." His words stirred something in me. He wasn't just physically attractive, he was intelligent and understanding. Before I could process it, his thumb grazed my lips, and he lowered his head, capturing my mouth in a kiss. When he pulled back, he licked his lips as though savoring the taste of me. "Just like your name," he whispered, but I heard him loud and clear. "No matter how far you go, you'll come back to me," he murmured, his tone cocky. "I'm a magnet, Jasmine, an inescapable one." Something about his arrogance triggered me, lighting a spark of defiance in me. Summoning my strength, I pushed him away. "I'll let you know my terms, Alpha Maverick, but I need some time." I left immediately without waiting for another word from him. My destination was the home I once shared with Logan, where I would gather my belongings and close the door on that chapter of my life. I resolved to embark on the contract marriage with Alpha Maverick, and there was no turning back. I walked straight to my room to find the door jammed shut. Soon I'll leave this place that was once filled with my love for Logan. I sighed. Unlocking it, the door creaked open, revealing the dark, cold space. It felt soulless, as though no one had ever lived there. I flipped the light switch, and as my eyes took in the brightness of the room, I froze in place. Standing in the center of the room with a crazed look in his eyes was Logan. My voice caught in my throat as I whispered his name. "Jasmine." I stared at him wide-eyed as his name died on my lips. He approached me slowly, like a predator closing in on his prey. Instead of backing away like any sane person would, I held my head high, crossing my arms. "What do you want, Logan?" "You and my uncle." "That is impossible, Jasmine. Why don't you reject him, huh? He came closer until I felt his hot breath fanning my face. His scent, which I once found comforting, now felt overwhelming. My wolf rejected his smell. Maybe it was because I had gotten a taste of my mate's scent. Grabbing my elbow softly, he spoke again, his voice soft this time. What do you want, Jas? I have treated you so well and worshipped the ground you walked on. I gave you every damn thing you wanted. I provided for you without you having to lift a finger. I gave you the best, so why? His voice cracked as he continued. Why couldn't you give me a second chance after one mistake? I scoffed, unable to believe what he was saying. Instead of apologizing and taking responsibility for his actions, he is making excuses to justify them. Please, Jas, I am willing to discard Samantha, and if going on my knees means being with you again, I would. Shaking my head in disgust, I pulled my arm from his grip. If you remember, at the marking of our ceremony, betrayal was the deal breaker. We gave each other our word, Logan, but what did you do? Instead, you chewed it up and spat it out. I don't think anything can ever fix the trust you've broken between us. He opened his mouth to speak again, but I raised my hand to stop it by continuing. I guess it all happened for the best, since your mother always loathed me, calling me bad luck and an orphan without roots. Now, with me out of the picture, you can mend your bond with her while I carry my cursed fate alone, far from her precious son. A few months ago, I was willing to lay down my life for Logan. I would do anything to support him, but there is one thing I cannot forgive: cheating. I realized that things would only get worse from here on out. A cheater will never change, so I believed, if anything, they will become cleverer about hiding their infidelity from you. He gulped hard, averting my gaze. Even though I had never regretted giving him my love and care, he had ruined our chances, way beyond repair. Look, Logan, I was happy, lived comfortably, and you never gave me a reason not to. Not until you ruined it by stabbing me in the back. Now, I get to choose a different life for myself, one that doesn't revolve around just marriage. His soft gaze immediately turned malicious, the warmth replaced by something sinister. So, you want to go ahead with my uncle, right? Alpha Maverick is not an innocent man the way you think. If anything, you're throwing yourself into the lion's den. Don't say I didn't warn you. Then his tone dropped even lower. One day, I promise, you will come crawling back to me, and that day is not far off, and I will be looking forward to that. With that, he stormed off. I watched his broad, retreating figure as he left, but I called out, ignoring his words. This house will be sold as soon as I can. You had better not have any valuables left here. He paused momentarily before walking away until he disappeared from sight. Yeah, I can't retain this house, I murmured. I let out a sigh I didn't realize I'd been holding, his last words weighing heavily on my chest. Logan certainly knew about Alpha Maverick and what he was capable of. What if I was running from smoke into a full-blown fire? A few moments later, I turned back to my wardrobe, packing my stuff, when my ears perked up. I heard footsteps, another presence in the house. Turning around, my wolf snarled at Samantha, who walked in as if she owned the place, smirking with a wicked glint in her eyes. Well, look who we have here. The mistress, former mistress of this house, she sneered. What are you here for, huh? Looking for your sugar daddy? Her presence grated on me, but I tried to keep my anger on a leash. If I didn't, my wolf would take over and dismantle her. Why did you betray me, Samantha? I trusted you and placed you above everyone else. So why? And you did it without even considering how I would feel. She scoffed as I slowly walked toward her, closing the distance between us, anger blazing in my eyes. Guess what, Jasmine? I enjoyed every bit of it. She threw her head back in laughter before adding, Do you have any idea how exhausting it was pretending to be friends with the most disgusting, vile person? I smacked my lips, unable to believe her venomous words. Then she screamed at the top of her lungs. We were both damn orphans. So why you? Why did you get the better brain, the great husband, and the great life? Not anymore, Jasmine. I'll win, and you'll have to look up to me from now on. So this was it. Her reason for cheating with my husband all stemmed from her insecurity and jealousy. She couldn't bear to see me succeed. I had taken Samantha as my sister, believing that if I won, it would be a victory for both of us. I tried my best to hold us both together. While she was sleeping, I was up all night studying and working tirelessly while she seethed behind my back with envy. We both knew the struggles of growing up as orphans, and I couldn't believe she let jealousy destroy us. "Get the hell out, Samantha, before I do something I'll regret," I yelled, feeling my restraint snap. My eyes flickered between human and my wolf's, and soon my fangs began to emerge. No, not now. I couldn't let my wolf take over. No matter the circumstances, I couldn't hurt Samantha, even if she had done it to me without a second thought. "I said out, now!" My voice dripped with menace, my wolf's growls blending into it. Samantha's eyes widened in fear as she backed away, then turned and ran. I followed briskly, not stopping until she left the entrance door. I watched, seething as she scrambled into Logan's car, and they left after she gave me one last look. For a brief moment, I saw the glimpse of the orphaned sweet girl I once knew. After they sped away, I clutched my pounding head, straight to my room, and collapsed onto the bed. The energy it took to suppress my wolf had drained me. I tried to calm my racing heart as the room spun around me. Soon I felt myself slipping into slumber. Morning came too quickly. I went downstairs to brew coffee, scrolling through my phone as I sat on the bar stool. Hissing in irritation, I deleted every post with Samantha or Logan. I unfriended them on every platform. Once I'd finished my coffee and tossed the cup into the dishwasher, the mansion door swung open. A stern, middle-aged woman I had never seen before stormed inside. I stared at her in stunned silence. "Who are you?" Before I could finish my sentence, she slapped me hard across my face and threw a check at me. "Stay away from Maverick, I'm warning you." "What the hell?" "Jasmine." I held my throbbing cheek in pain, too stunned to even move. The woman glared at me, her eyes filled with so much disgust. But as I looked closer at her, something clicked in my mind. I gasped, recognizing her. The woman standing in front of me was Logan's mother, Isabella. The uncanny resemblance was undeniable, starting with the sharpness of her eyes to the curve of her lips and the fact that I had seen her photos in an album Logan kept in his room. But she looked slightly older from the photographs, the years of bitterness and hate written in the lines of her face. Isabella's voice dripped with ridicule. "This is a generous offer, Jasmine, enough to set you up anywhere you want, far away from here. Take it and leave our lives for good." My eyes landed on the buyout check and my jaw tightened. "You think you can buy me off? My worth isn't measured in your money, Isabella. Keep it, your son needs it more than I do." "You ingrate," she boomed, her voice vibrating with rage. "How dare you betray my son's kindness? My son has been nothing but good to you, feeding you, sheltering you by placing a roof over your head. Is this how you want to repay his generosity?" "I can't argue with you. Please, you have to calm down and—" I didn't want this to escalate, so I attempted to avoid more triggering statements by sounding placating, but she quickly interjected. "Don't you dare tell me to calm down. You are a shameless slut. After disrespecting and betraying Logan, now you want to carry on with the alpha, right? Through your seductive and manipulative ways." Isabella's voice cut through the room like a knife. "But get this straight. You are nothing but a worthless orphan. The privileges that Logan gave you, no one else would." Her words were venomous, each sentence like a slap to my face. But my wolf, she was beyond furious. "She insulted us," my wolf growled, pacing in my mind, restless and enraged. "How dare she speak of us like we're nothing?" Her anger mirrored mine from the inside, but I held it back, not wanting to lose control. Isabella was pushing all the wrong buttons, but I couldn't let her win. She smacked her lips and shook her head, her eyes judging. "I don't know what Logan ever saw in you. I warned him to stay away from people like you. Poor people are ungrateful leeches, always looking for a way to suck one dry, and you are no better." But he was too stubborn to listen. Isabella snapped her fingers, pointing at me with venom in her gaze. "But let me tell you something you don't know." She snickered with malice. "I've never recognized you as one of us because of your degraded status. You're undeserving of continuing the lineage of my son. I never bothered introducing you to my family or Maverick, and I warned Logan against being with someone like you. I knew something like this would happen. You'll leave our lives for good, and Logan will get the woman of his dreams. You thought you could come between my son and me, but you failed." The words burned deep, and I clenched my fists to keep myself from shaking. She has no idea what I have been through. She doesn't understand the strength it took to survive, to endure everything I've fought for to survive in a world full of souls as dark as hers. So why was Logan taking all the credit for it? I'm a fighter myself, who would have still survived without him. I didn't say a word. Instead, I stood there, watching Isabella go berserk. The more she raged, the clearer everything became. Logan's explanations never fully made sense to me, but now they did. Isabella's hatred for me ran so deep that she'd deliberately cut me off from Logan's life. She'd made sure I never met the people in his world, and I had never questioned it before. I had always thought it was just his way of protecting me, of keeping me away from unnecessary drama. But now, the pieces fell together. It was Isabella who never wanted me in their lives. She had never even told Maverick about me. Logan had sacrificed everything to be with me, and I wouldn't say he never loved me, but his love wasn't enough if he let it all slip away for a few moments of pleasure by cheating on me. Was it worth it? He betrayed us, my wolf snarled, the fury only building. I didn't respond to my wolf. It wasn't the right time to let my anger take over. Isabella's venomous words were enough to push me over the edge, but I wouldn't let myself be dragged down to her level. The truth is, I wasn't afraid to speak up to Isabella, but I felt it wouldn't be appropriate to disrespect her. Not only is she Logan's birth mother, but she also holds a significant position as one of the elders on the board and one of the strongest pillars of our pack's structure. I did my best to tolerate her, but I couldn't stand by while she invalidated my feelings. "Listen, Isabella," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. "While I know you're worried about your son, I hope you know that everyone knows about Logan's betrayal and how he trampled on the mate bond. He tampered with fate. So severing all ties with him is the best decision I can make for both of us. Besides, that's what you've dreamt about for ages, isn't it? Why are you complaining now?" Isabella's eyes narrowed, and for the first time, she looked unsure, like a mask had slipped from her face. It was only for a second, but I saw it. She knew the truth, and she hated me for it. "Wait for the last moment, Jasmine. Let's see who gets the last laugh," Isabella spat. "You might have convinced my brother, the Alpha, but I can see through your devious act. And trust me, I'll make sure Maverick discards you. I'll show him what kind of snake you are." The words were a threat, but I stood firm, refusing to back down. My wolf growled louder, her claws scraping at the edges of my mind. Just then, the familiar scent of my fated mate flooded the room. A warmth spread through my chest as I felt his presence even before I saw him. Alpha Maverick entered, his dark curls slicked back, his confidence evident in every stride he took. The room felt smaller and the air heavier as he approached us. His gaze never left mine, and my wolf, restless and eager, stirred within me. "Mate," she purred, her voice low and possessive. Alpha Maverick stopped between Isabella and me, his broad figure casting a shadow over the space. The tension in the room thickened, and I could feel my heart race. My wolf howled happily and pranced in my mind, eager to meet his wolf and mark him so other she-wolves would know to stay on their radar. His eyes flicked to Isabella, then back to me. "Isabella," he said, his deep voice commanding and calm, "I suggest you don't speak to Jasmine like that. You'd better respect the will of the moon goddess and stay out of a fight that doesn't involve you. Logan brought this upon himself. He is the one who needs to be cautioned, not her. I thought you would know better, sister." The bass of his tone rumbled through my body, and I felt my pulse spike. The butterflies in my stomach were wild, fluttering uncontrollably as his presence enveloped me. "Has he taken over this fight as well?" "Jasmine." "What a pleasant surprise, brother," Isabella remarked, her tone dripping with malice. "You're here to defend a woman who is clearly undeserving. What has she done to you?" "She has used her charms to bewitch you, manipulating you into removing Logan as the CEO of Prime. What did Logan do to revoke the authority you gave him over that little fraction of Grand Prime?" Maverick's expression turned stern. "Enough of the hateful words, Bella. You should know better than to trifle with the will of the moon goddess. As for Logan, I can't compromise. He cannot be trusted for trying to lure me into being a party to his bad ways." "No better? Can you even hear yourself, Maverick?" Isabella in disbelief. You are the one blind to her schemes. Now she has come between you and us. She will destroy us. Don't let her. Isabella, Alpha Maverick warned, but she cut him off. No, Maverick. You are my blood, and I must look out for you. I know this dirty swine better than you do. She's a whore who will suck you dry, and once she's done, she'll discard you just like she did Logan. So I'm advising you to reject her as your fated wife and find someone. She turned to throw me a scathing look. Competent. Hadn't she accused me enough? It was obvious she wasn't done, because as soon as she paused, she continued. Don't forget, Maverick, you're the alpha of the Gold Pack and the CEO of Grand Prime. You must uphold your image because Luna is a reflection of who you are. What will people say when their Luna is nothing but a divorced and useless gold digger? Not just divorced, but from your nephew. I knew Isabella resented me and would do anything in her power to see me gone, but I also knew she was looking out for her family. A tinge of truth lay buried in her harsh words. This situation was far more complicated than it appeared on the surface, and rival packs and companies would surely seize the chance to rejoice at any weakness perceived. I also understood the significance that Logan's position at Prime held for Isabella, particularly since it was a subsidiary of Grand Prime, the vast conglomerate headed by Maverick. Maverick had entrusted the management of Prime Company to Isabella's family because of his busy schedule, but now he had revoked their control, putting everything under his direct supervision. This sudden loss of control would definitely be a hard pill for Isabella to swallow, especially since she took pride in her son's position. I'm almost certain that she won't stop until I'm dealt with. Alpha Maverick sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose in frustration. Stop it. Just stop it and leave, Isabella. You don't need to remind me of my duties. I'm capable enough to handle my own matters. As your alpha, I can have you prosecuted for speaking against your potential Luna. I have proven that I can manage the pack and the company, and I won't have you questioning my role. Her mouth formed an O shape as she glared at me. Her eyes held hurt, not just fury. She hadn't expected Maverick to defend me over her. Maverick, she gasped, clutching her chest as she tried to blink back her tears. You underestimate me more than I would like. Don't forget, it was my protection that prevented you from being killed. I took you under my wing and shielded you after our parents' death, and now you're choosing a stranger's words over mine. My gaze shifted to Alpha Maverick, whose eyes glowed red as he clenched his jaw. The fury radiating from him was palpable, clearly indicating that she had struck a nerve. His hands shook as he balled them into fists, desperately trying not to hurt Isabella. He remained silent, staring at the ground without lifting his head. Isabella seemed to notice and scoffed. Turning to me with a cold stare, the hatred in her eyes was unlike anything I'd ever seen. I didn't know what I'd done to her. My only crime was marrying her son against her wishes. Throughout my marriage, I had carefully avoided confrontations with this woman, trying to respect her position in Logan's life. But respect is a one-way street, and she'd never acknowledged me as Logan's wife, let alone shown me any courtesy. She had never hidden her hatred towards me, so I am not surprised by her actions. A woman who would end the call abruptly on her son at the sound of my voice in the background? She gave me enough signs that I was an intruder. She'd intentionally refused to communicate with Logan because of me, punishing him for my presence in his life. I can't deal with the voice of that irritating woman, I'd overheard her say. And as time went on, Logan avoided my presence while on a call with her, hiding my presence from the woman who was supposed to be my mother-in-law. I had such poor luck with this one. Mark my words, Jasmine, Isabella seethed. I'll reveal your true self to everyone, show them how vile you are, and kick you out of this pack with nothing, not even an ounce of your dignity. She stormed out, leaving me alone with Alpha Maverick. An awkward silence followed before Maverick turned his gaze to me. My eyes widened, eager to hear his thoughts, if any. His bloodshot eyes and the pulsing vein at his temple reminded me just how dangerous he truly was. But at that moment, he was just a man caught between his mate and the family that raised him. He offered me a small smile as he walked closer. Why didn't you seek my help when you were in danger, Jasmine? His voice was soft, tender. My heart tugged at his question and the gentle way he spoke. The traces of the angry alpha were gone, replaced by the man I knew as my mate. I couldn't just sit around like a damsel in distress waiting to be rescued. His eyes gleamed at my response as I stepped closer, inhaling his scent. Before marrying Logan, life wasn't exactly rosy. In fact, life never has been. Rosy is just an illusion. I have built a tough skin over time, and nothing Isabella does gets under it anymore. He raised his hand to wipe the corner of my mouth where my lip gloss had smeared. Then, to my surprise, he licked it off his finger. I blinked, trying to stay focused. But you know, Isabella isn't entirely wrong, though she isn't right either. Before taking on the pack's duties, I need to find my own path. I don't need you to intercede for me. Instead of arguing, he cupped my face, nodding with a smile. I believe in you, Jasmine, but I have a request. I'd like you to accompany me to a business negotiation gala this evening. I believe it might be your forte. I paused, considering his words. Excitement coursed through me at his consideration, but nervousness quickly followed. I hadn't worked in over 3 years. I'm thrilled, I admitted, but I'm not sure if that's... It will, he cut me off. Don't doubt your abilities, Jasmine. That's not supposed to be a setback, but rather a stepping stone to discovering your true path. I nodded, unable to hide a small smile. He laughed softly and added, You know, I already look forward to the woman you'll become once you realize your full potential. You're a force to be reckoned with, Jasmine. Your success isn't far-fetched. I can feel it deeply as your mate. I swallowed hard. Deep down, I knew he was right. Doubting myself had never been an option. Sure, there were moments of uncertainty, but having someone believe in me felt refreshing, almost like a new beginning. Jasmine? I stood before the full-length mirror as I got ready for the gala, my gaze locking onto my reflection. I took a deep breath, smoothing the emerald green gown clinging to me like a second skin. The dress had a daring slit up the side, which revealed my toned legs before pooling elegantly at my feet with a luxurious cascade of the dress's fabric. My smoky eye makeup and winged eyeliner accentuated my already striking features, while my lips were painted in a perfect deep red shade. My hair was swept up neatly, with a few tendrils framing my face. I looked absolutely gorgeous. As I touched up my face, ensuring I hadn't missed anything, the sound of a car pulling into the driveway reached me. I didn't need to be told. It was Alpha Maverick, so I quickly tried to finish up. After Maverick made his request, he had left to handle pressing matters about a report, leaving me to rummage through my wardrobe for something suitable to wear. My nerves had also been fraying ever since. This wasn't just any regular gala. It was hosted by our pack and attended by top representatives from various packs and human enterprises. The guest list was a who's who of power players, each one determined to outshine the others. Making the stakes higher is the fact that our pack is playing host to this gala, one of the largest and most anticipated galas in decades. I hurried out of the room and saw Alpha Maverick standing at the bottom of the stairs while glancing at his wristwatch. The moment his eyes met mine, they lit up. As I descended slowly, his gaze roamed over me, lingering on my curves, though his eyes stayed on mine most of the time. His intense focus made my pulse quicken. My heart skipped as I took his looks in. He wore a black tuxedo that framed his lean, toned body perfectly. His hair was slicked back, and his freshly trimmed stubble accentuated his sharp features, making him look beyond words. Standing in front of him, I was struck by his scent, a fresh, intoxicating mix that made my wolf double in joy. It was something I could never get used to. Not now, I scolded her silently. His voice dropped, deep and soft, as he closed the gap between us and took my hands in his large ones. You look like a siren, enchanting and dangerous. I chuckled, heat creeping up my neck. You don't look bad yourself, Alpha, I teased. A sparkle flashed in his eyes as he intertwined our fingers. Shall we? He asked, his tone warm. I nodded, letting him lead me to the car. Once we were seated, he placed his warm hand on my thighs, making goosebumps appear on it. He glanced at me, and even if he noticed, he didn't mention it. The warmth of his touch spread through me, and I couldn't deny how much I loved how he affected me in many ways. Standing now at the threshold of the Golden Crescent Pack's collaborative gala, doubt threatened to overwhelm me for a moment. Taking a deep breath, I pushed it aside, stepping into the spotlight. Offering Maverick a small smile, I nodded. Throughout it all, his attention remained solely on me. Ready? His voice was low, steady, and comforting as his hand rested lightly on the small of my back. I nodded again, as ready as I'll ever be. Walking into the gala alongside Alpha Maverick drew every eye in the room like moths to a flame. Whispers followed. I felt their curiosity, judgment, and unspoken questions. Who is she? Only the finest elites attended this event, so their interest was natural, especially because I was with Alpha Maverick. For the first few minutes, I played the part of a silent observer, staying close to Alpha Maverick as he exchanged pleasantries with powerful figures. I felt the unsettling weight of gazes on me, lustful ones from men and hateful ones from high society women. No one dared approach me, but I paid attention. This wasn't just a gala, it was a chessboard, and every move mattered. A heated argument soon broke the polished atmosphere. "This is unacceptable," snapped a man from the Stallion Pack. "Gold Crescent Pack is withholding critical data from the lichen virus research. How are we supposed to trust this collaboration when your pack clearly has its own agenda?" Lichen virus? My mind immediately went to the hours I'd spent researching it during my university days. It was a deadly virus first reported 7 generations ago, affecting 60% of the population. Back then, limited medical facilities had led to countless deaths. While advancements had been made, early research predicted the emergence of a new strain. One of Alpha Maverick's executives responded sharply. "We are not withholding anything. If you would actually read the report—" "I did read it," the Stallion Pack representative interrupted. "And it's riddled with inconsistencies. Your data doesn't align with the collaborative research protocols we agreed upon. You're jeopardizing the entire project with your lack of transparency." The argument escalated. From what I gathered, the project was a joint effort to develop an antidote for the new strain of lichen virus. Packs had agreed to share data, with Gold Crescent Pack leading the initiative. Now, Stallion Pack was accusing our pack of withholding key data, compromising the project, and jeopardizing future collaborations. They even alleged that Gold Pack was manipulating results using human-dominated DNA. "This lack of transparency is a joke," the Stallion Pack representative continued. "And your methods? Unethical. You're using human-dominated DNA to manipulate outcomes." The room grew silent as everyone watched the tense exchange. My brows furrowed in confusion. How had this even become an issue? It was clear that neither side fully understood the other. "What do you think?" Alpha Maverick's steady whisper broke into my thoughts. He was watching my reaction closely. From the way he stayed calm, I could tell he had already figured out how to handle the issue. After all, he was an alpha and always thought ahead. But deep down, I knew he also wanted to see how far I could go this time, how well I would wear my crown. My body language gave me away. He could easily sense that I had a lot to say about the matter. Alpha Maverick's executive was struggling to keep calm, and his words weren't helping to de-escalate the situation. Scientific jargon filled the air, and I realized this argument could tarnish the Golden Crimson Pack's alliances. Swallowing my nerves, I turned to Alpha Maverick with a small smile before stepping forward to stand between the two men. "Excuse me," I interjected, my voice clear and firm. The room fell silent, and all attention shifted solely to me. "Jasmine." Clearing my throat, I added, "May I ask for a clarification?" They froze while the Stallion Pack's representative gave me a judgmental look, but I continued. "You mentioned something about using a human-dominated faction, right?" His eyes narrowed, and he furrowed his brows, becoming defensive. "I believe there's a scheme going on in the Gold Crescent Pack. Using a high percentage of humans goes against what's in the protocol book." As I listened to him, I realized there was a misinterpretation in the research paper. I quickly sifted through my thoughts, recalling that I had encountered a similar issue during my research days. I tried to piece together the puzzle and find the missing link. "I believe this accusation stems from a misunderstanding," I said, holding the gaze of both parties. "What do you mean?" the Alpha's executive asked, and I smiled, clearing my throat. All eyes were on me, and for a moment, I forgot I was standing before prestigious members in the hall, their attention fixed on what I had to say. I turned my eyes to Alpha Maverick, who stared at me intently, waiting for me to continue. It's not entirely incorrect to use a large percentage of human-dominated DNA in the research. If you don't know, humans possess suppressed wolf DNA, making them viable for such a study still. Delta's Zoldyck Kunama and Krolo Sinart have backed up these claims and have used this same approach to achieve their goals. These deltas were two of the most well-known scientists of all time, and their legacies lived on even after their deaths. The stallion's representative blinked at me, clearly rethinking his words. Then I asked, "Can I see the research papers?" He immediately handed me the paper. I smiled as I pointed to the root of the issue. "Here," I said, "this is the problem. It isn't stated clearly in this paper why they had to switch percentages, but right here, here's the sign that the switch satisfied the thespian rule for using a method not listed in the protocol book, an unconventional method." I scanned the paper for the defaulting percentages for each study group during a series of the initial test trials, and there it was, the data backing my statement. You see, there were way too many werewolf defaulters during the trials, hence why the percentage switch was necessary and implemented. It still yields the same results, and renowned scientists have validated this in the past. I took a breather as I watched their keen attention to my explanation. "Here it is," I emphasized, drawing their attention to further backings of my explanations. "The percentage switch was highly recommended. Here's the sign that they did this switch due to this." I pointed to a scientific symbol that explains this. Maverick's executive applauded while beaming with admiration. I wouldn't have explained this any better myself. "Bravo, bravo." He turned to Stallion Pack's representative and added, "Gold Crescent Pack will never take all of your efforts for granted. This process will continue to be as transparent as possible." I acknowledged the executive's praise before turning my gaze to the complainant. It was simply an oversight of not relaying this information clearly. The results you've read are very much accurate, and I believe that no one in Gold Pack wants to hijack this research or undermine your efforts. Stallion Pack's representative gasped, "How could I have missed that?" His face turned beet red with embarrassment. It was obvious that he didn't know his onions well. The issue would have never called for escalation if he understood the symbols used in the paper. The room erupted in whispers as they talked among themselves. I turned back to Alpha Maverick, whose eyes gleamed with pride. His face, which had been in a frown, was now smiling ear to ear, like a Cheshire cat. But I didn't stop there. What's the use of pointing out a problem if there isn't a solution to it? To prevent further misunderstandings in the future, perhaps we could improve the data sharing protocol between packs. What I mean is that instead of relying just on the in vivo approach, we could use a system with transparent checks that would ensure everyone has access to the same information in real time, without compromise. My suggestion was met with nods of approval, and Alpha Maverick clapped. Soon, the room erupted in applause, even hoots of approval. I felt proud of myself, and it was refreshing to know I could do something impactful. The stallion's representative was the first to speak again. "I hadn't considered that. Please accept my apologies for questioning your efforts and doubting your capabilities." Alpha Maverick's executive offered a curt nod, extending a hand for a handshake before speaking. "It's not entirely your fault. We should have written it out clearly, not using scientific symbols, since not everyone would be attentive to symbols." Relief washed over me as the executive thanked me for clarifying the issue. Soon, the women who had turned their noses up at me approached, praising and admiring me for stepping in for my pack. It's funny how the slightest thing can change people's perspective on you. When they first saw me, hands intertwined with Alpha Maverick's, they thought I was just a pretty decoration with an empty mind. But as they say, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. While the ladies were chatting away, tossing champagne and gossiping about the juiciest news in town, the men were holding a discussion session, probably about today's incident. It felt surreal because just a few months ago, I wouldn't have stepped in, despite having valuable insights. I would have kept to myself, but now I'm the one charging in to clarify pack matters, knowing it could lead to political issues. Soon, the scent of Alpha Maverick caught my nose, and my wolf howled excitedly. He slowly approached me, and even the women, some of them married, whispered admiringly, drawn to his charisma. I struggled to keep my emotions in check, overcome with jealousy at that moment. He was mine alone. Ours, my wolf reminded me, making me inwardly roll my eyes. He soon excused me from the group with a proud smile dancing on his lips. You did great, Jasmine, all on your own, and this is just the beginning. Thank you, Alpha Maverick, I said, my heart swelling. This encounter had given me a much-needed boost in self-confidence. Not trying to bring up the past, but with Logan, I never got to see my true self. I always relied on him to think for me and solve my problems while I just relaxed, my only responsibility being to look pretty. I hadn't realized how much I missed out on until my divorce. Soon, some men dressed in black approached us. Alpha Maverick whispered in my ear, telling me these were important business associates, and I straightened my posture. He introduced me, cleverly showcasing me as a valuable asset to the gold pack, while they complimented and commended me. I believe she will unlock doors to greater opportunities for us. After the event wrapped up, my feet were sore, and we retreated to the car. The moment felt serene, but his presence was so close, overpowering my senses. The soft bass of the song playing on the radio did nothing to ease the tension. His hand landed on my thigh once again, and he squeezed it. Penny for your thoughts? I gulped, averting my gaze from him. Earlier, when he held my thigh, I was too tense to react, but now, every movement from him stirred something inside me. His voice dropped low again. I've told you this 1,000,000 times, but you've exceeded everything I thought possible. He praised me once again, and I chuckled, reminding him of his words when he said I was a force to be reckoned with. The car slowed and came to a halt. I didn't realize how long I had been holding my breath until I turned my eyes to him, my heart skipping a beat. Slowly, his head dipped down, closing the space between us. His lips hovered just above mine. You know, Jasmine, I could smell your arousal from here. His hot breath fanned across my lips, and before I could react, he captured them for a kiss. Jasmine. His words sent me over the edge as I pressed myself closer to him, wanting to feel him near me once again. The kiss became more frantic, more intense, as I clenched my thighs together. His large hands slowly trailed over my body, caressing me, the contact making me moan into his mouth. Just as he reached down to my panties, I shivered slightly, his thumb grazing over my sensitive spot, and reason returned to my mind. Wait, I said as he pulled back with a questioning look in his eyes. Is there something wrong? He asked in a raspy voice, his eyes still clouded with desire. I let out a shaky breath. Nothing. I just think we need to take things slow. His hands, which were tugging at my panty line, now rested on my thighs before he asked again. Including sex? He turned to look deeply into my eyes, and when I refused to answer, he got the message. He let out a low chuckle. You know that's going to be a hard one, Jasmine. I can't resist you, and the mate bond isn't making matters any better. My alpha instincts want to claim you. I understood where he was coming from because, even for me, it hadn't been easy with my wolf finding it hard to suppress her desires. But I didn't want to act irrationally, not until I had everything settled. Look, Alpha, I get you. I really do, but it's just, I don't want to tie our souls yet until I understand what I truly want in life. My path. My words drew his attention as he listened intently. Mind elaborating on what this path is, Jasmine? Clearing my throat, I placed my hand on his that rested on my thighs, warmth enveloping my body. The future, who I want to be. The future, yeah? He shuffled before flicking his tongue. But you will join me in the Grand Prime Company. Isn't that enough to have the future secured? He asked while pursing his lips. I shook my head, trying to make him understand my perspective. It wasn't just about being under his company. I wanted to achieve goals myself, to start fresh and know what I was capable of. That's not the case right now. What I want is to pursue my studies and research. I would love to enroll and advance my knowledge as soon as possible. He nodded his head with a smile. I understand. I fully support your decision, Jasmine. Without needing to say much, he started the ignition and drove off in comfortable silence. He threw me side glances every now and then as soft music filled the air. I noticed he was taking a different route from the one I knew, so I asked, Are we going somewhere? Yes, to my place. Your house will be sold since that's what you wanted, right? Logan called me to rant about it, but I guess you've made up your mind to. Or do you want to change your mind about it? I shook my head without hesitation. So it will be on the market from tomorrow, he replied. Oh, right. Soon, we approached a magnificent sight to behold. I stared wide-eyed at his mansion. Right from the gate, we drove through another gate. It was spectacular, like nothing I'd ever seen before, and on the inside, elegance was the only word that could describe it. Let me show you your room so you can freshen up. I followed him, and he pointed to the door opposite. And there's my room, in case you need anything. I nodded, thanking him, then entered my room. His scent was present in every corner of the house, including this one. My feet sunk into the plush carpet as I quickly undressed, heading into the shower to freshen up and calm the desires aching in me. By the time I was out, I was met with the alpha's shirt already sprawled on the bed, and it brought a smile to my face. It smelled just like him. As soon as I was done, I had no strength left for anything as I hit the bed, immediately succumbing to sleep. I groaned, blinking my eyes against the light that seemed blinding as I awoke the next morning. I stirred on the bed, which felt so comfortable that I didn't want to get up. Just then, the events of last night rushed to my mind, and I blushed, thinking back to Alpha Maverick. As I stretched, the ringing of my phone distracted me. I quickly picked it up to see Rose calling. Hey, Jas, she said in a high-pitched voice. What's up? I croaked. Don't tell me you're still sleeping at this time. I'm tired to my bones, I drawled, but I know I owe you an explanation. I know we've got a lot to discuss about Maverick's proposal. Since Maverick's proposal, we never got the time to discuss it, so I was almost certain she was calling to hear my decision. Forget that for now. We will definitely discuss it much later. Or are you considering Alpha Maverick? She asked sharply. She didn't let me finish. She sounded unnecessarily excited. For now, there's someone I would like you to meet at my café. Endeavor to come. It's urgent. After assuring her that I would, Alpha Maverick came into the room, offering me food, and my heart warmed at the gesture. It was thoughtful of him not to send the maids, as though he knew how much I was yearning for his presence. Strangely, my memory of Logan was beginning to fade, like a distant past overshadowed by the Alpha's presence in my life. Maverick informed me that he was about to leave for work, and I asked if he could drop me off at Rose's café. I'd leave from there to the home I once shared with Logan to grab my stuff. Upon reaching the café, Rose approached me with a mischievous smile playing on her lips. What's the occasion? I asked, suddenly wary of how she was acting. I knew it wasn't because of my situation with Alpha Maverick. She knew nothing about it. So what could it be? You'll see, she said, pulling me to the VIP section. The figure turned his eyes toward us as we approached with a smile on his lips. He was intimidating and good-looking, with the perfect set of blue eyes and blonde hair. He was close to perfection if Alpha Maverick didn't exist. I would like to introduce you to the Alpha of the Red Blood Pack, Alpha Zephr, since you'll be joining our pack, she said with a squeal, and my eyes turned to Zephr, who had his gaze fixed on me, his eyes glinting with admiration. Nice to meet you, Jasmine, he said, offering his hand as I took it. Thank you. Likewise, I replied as he softly squeezed it, his touch lingering. Isn't he the same person Rose is head over heels for? My mind raced with thoughts, wondering what Rose was up to. Jack clearing her throat, Rose pulled me back to the present. I need to check on something urgently in the office. I'll leave you both to it. She excused herself and left me alone with Alpha Zephr. Rose told me you would be relocating to the Red Blood Pack, correct? He was the first to speak again, and I turned my full attention to him. There are things I still need to take care of, may even take longer than expected. I understand completely. His smile was warm as he gestured for me to sit across from him. I promise you'll have a memorable stay. That's great. His smile widened. This is actually my second time visiting Gold Pack. I'm here on a business trip with my insurance company. Insurance company? I repeated, intrigued. His eyes sparkled, clearly passionate about his work. Yes, a fire insurance company. I'm focused on expanding and conducting in-depth research about it. That's a really great area, I said, captivated by his topic. It's one of the overlooked issues here, and often any small occurrence is blamed on witchcraft, especially during a fire outbreak. While witches can be a factor, more often than not, these incidents are due to neglect. He nodded with equal enthusiasm. Exactly. It's refreshing to meet someone who shares that perspective. My goal is to provide financial protection and risk management, offering coverage against potential losses. His words brought back memories of my parents, and I struggled to blink back my tears. They died in a fire outbreak at the lab, and the more I thought about it, the clearer it became that their deaths could have been avoided. Both were dedicated researchers who devoted their lives to advancing medicine. At the time of their tragic deaths, they were working diligently to identify the pattern of the next strain of the lichen virus. Deep down, I believed it was a setup connected to something political, but the case was not thoroughly investigated and was closed prematurely when the officer in charge was transferred. He was unserious and indifferent to his subjects' lives. His joy came not from love and dedication, but merely from a paycheck. Alpha Zephyr didn't need to be reminded of my parents' names, as they were well known across the packs. So, I chose to avoid discussing that topic too much, and instead said, "You seem passionate about what you do. It's admirable." Surprisingly, I found Alpha Zephyr interesting. He balances harmony with seriousness. I found him playful and sarcastic, and I really enjoyed talking to him. He seemed like someone with a liberal heart. "I can't wait for you to join forces with me. You are a really smart woman, Jasmine," he complimented. "A little birdie told me that you want to pursue a career as a researcher as well." His comment made me laugh, because I knew exactly who that little birdie was. "Rose. Yes, that's what I'm currently focused on," I replied, feeling lighter as our conversation continued. Suddenly, his voice became serious, and I could tell that he had been holding back this thought until now. "I know about your divorce and how it has motivated you to move forward. I want to assure you, Jasmine, that the Red Blood Pack will welcome you with open arms and support you every step of the way as you revive your research and find your place." I gulped at his kind words, feeling something stir within me. "Aren't you being a little too direct, Alpha Zephyr?" I teased, smirking at how openly he spoke about my divorce from Logan, as if it were nothing. He mirrored my expression, raising his hands in surrender. "I prefer honesty. Why pretend otherwise?" He chuckled. "I would love to collaborate with you in the future." I nodded, thankful for his offer, as we chatted about everything and nothing at all. Enjoying our conversation, soon he stood up to leave for something urgent. "Until I see you again, Jasmine," he said, taking my hands and kissing them. I was too stunned by his boldness as he walked away. As soon as he left, Rose suddenly appeared, and I suspected she had been hiding nearby, eavesdropping on our conversation, judging by the way she raised her eyebrows. "Rose!" I scolded. "What? Didn't you see how great Alpha Zephyr is?" She sighed dreamily. "He's charming, kind, and such a wonderful alpha for the Red Blood Pack. He even promised to stand by your side, Jasmine, and help you achieve your goals, unlike that impotent ex-husband of yours, who disregarded your dreams just to serve his own." That's right. From the way Alpha Zephyr promised to be there for me, I knew his words weren't empty. But still. But isn't he the same one who makes you smile ear to ear? I'm wolfless. We can never match, Jas. Well, that's not the point of it. His authority is what I want for you. You'll get to all the high places with his support. I swallowed hard. Rose was still unaware of my agreement with Alpha Maverick, and this situation was more complicated than she realized, especially since we were fated mates and I felt an undeniable pull towards him. I knew no good friend would want me to have anything to do with that family again. "Rose," I inhaled sharply, as I knew it was the right moment to explain this to her. Just then, my phone rang. "Hold on a sec," I said, glancing at the caller's ID. It was Maverick. My heart fluttered as I swiped to answer the call. "Hello." "Jasmine." His deep voice came from the other end of the line, causing my wolf to stir with excitement. "I just called to let you know that I would love for us to go on a date, just the two of us, later this evening. I've sent a driver to pick you up so you can shop for an outfit. He's outside already. What do you say?" "Sure," I replied, noticing Rose's curious gaze fixed on me. After hanging up, I turned to Rose, hurriedly pulled her into a hug, and kissed her cheek. "I've got to go." I'll explain later, okay? Was that Maverick? Can't he just leave you alone? After all you've been through in the hands of them, he's still pestering you to claim you? I could see the disapproval in her eyes, and I couldn't blame her, but now wasn't the time to delve into it. I would when the moment is right. She called out goodbye as I left. I didn't want Rose to discourage or influence my decisions. The boutique's interior sparkled with soft, twinkling lights that reflected off rows of elegant dresses. I ran my fingers over luxurious fabrics, savoring the smooth textures as I considered my options. "Looking for something special, ma'am?" the sales assistant asked with a knowing smile. "A date," I admitted, feeling oddly shy. After what felt like hours of indecision, I finally settled on a red, shimmering gown with a daring slit that ran up my thigh. It hugged my figure perfectly, making me feel bold. I paired it with black pumps and styled my hair in waves. I exuded confidence, ready to meet the one who seems to have found the master key to my heart. As soon as we arrived at the restaurant, I approached the candlelit table at the far end of the restaurant. My heart thudded with nervous excitement. Alpha Maverick had gone through so much trouble to arrange this evening, and the thought of it felt rejuvenating. I walked directly to our reserved table, but stopped abruptly in my tracks. My heart sank to the pit of my stomach as I stared at Alpha Maverick, who sat at the table, leaning in close to a stunning woman with flowing dark hair. They were locked in deep conversation, and he looked engrossed. Jasmine. He looked like he didn't have a single care in the world. My heart suddenly felt heavy as I was overwhelmed by rage. How could he be happy in another woman's company? My wolf was also furious, fighting to take control and tear the other she-wolf apart. "Let me out," she scratched at my mind, but I refused to let her take over. Sensing my presence, Alpha Maverick turned his head in my direction, surprise flickering in his eyes. I wanted to scoff at him, but I tried to maintain my composure. "Jasmine," he called, standing up and walking toward me as I took in his appearance, his dark hair neatly styled and his perfect jawline highlighted by the light. He had taken off his coat and was now wearing a rolled-up white shirt, which showcased his large arms and the veins bulging beneath the fabric. A wristwatch adorned one of his wrists. He looked spectacular. As he stood in front of me, he enveloped me in a hug, his scent overwhelming my senses. My wolf, which had previously been angry, was now stirred by desire. "I'm glad you made it," he whispered in my ear, sending a shiver down my spine. I glanced at the woman whose eyes were fixed on us. "You look amazing," he said softly, placing a light kiss on my cheek. I cleared my throat and averted my eyes, still feeling incredibly annoyed. He took my hands and guided me to the table, pulling back my seat before retrieving his coat from his shoulders and draping it over me. Oh, that gesture. It reminded me of the fictional men I adore. The stranger offered me a smile, and I returned it hesitantly. However, there was something off about her smile. It radiated a negative energy that I couldn't quite identify. Deep down, I sensed that she was going to be a lot of trouble. "Jasmine, meet Violeta, the head of research for Grand Prime," Alpha Maverick introduced. "Nice to meet you," she said in an infuriatingly shrill voice. Even the blind could see through her facade. "Violeta, meet Jasmine." What the hell? Just Jasmine? What exactly does Alpha Maverick think he is doing? Although I was the one who had requested that we keep our relationship low-key, I still felt offended. I crossed my arms and managed to force out a hi, not caring if I came off as rude. Alpha Maverick looked between us, noticing the tense atmosphere. He continued, trying to lighten the mood. "Violeta will be offering any help you need, Jasmine, as soon as you begin your journey as a young innovator." I offered a small, insincere smile, and even if he noticed it, he chose to ignore it as he turned his attention to Violeta, who was still smiling. "I have asked Violeta to find the best lab at the university for you to advance your research as soon as possible. I'm already working on that. You don't have to worry," Violeta replied. She then turned to me and added, "I will be leaving on a short trip tomorrow, so Alpha Maverick thought it would be ideal for us to meet before I go. I'm looking forward to working with you." "Thank you," I said, taking a sip of the champagne in front of me to calm the bubbling hatred I felt. She nodded, stood up, and turned to the Alpha. I nearly choked on the champagne when I noticed her pronounced belly. She was pregnant? I will be taking my leave, she said, slightly bowing to the alpha. However, I couldn't acknowledge her. My mind was focused on too many things. I frantically searched her hand for any symbol of marriage, but there were none. Instead of feeling a little relieved, this only made me more uneasy. If she wasn't married, then whose child was it? Could it possibly be? No, that can't be. The tightness in my chest returned as different scenarios flashed through my mind. Alpha Maverick was a bachelor. Having entanglements could happen. After she left, I turned to Alpha Maverick, hoping for an explanation, anything that could ease my mind. But none came, and I didn't want to be the one to ask. Whatever it is between them, I will make sure to find out before it's too late. There's something really off about that Violeta woman. Alpha Maverick's eyes bore into mine as he asked, "How was your day?" "My day? Good," I replied, pausing briefly when he placed his large hands on my arms, drawing soothing circles on my skin. The sensation jolted my wolf awake, making me feel her presence too close, as if his touch had summoned her. I noticed the way his eyes kept flickering to a deep midnight black, which told me his wolf was also close. I shifted in my seat before continuing. I wasn't able to pack any of my belongings because I spent most of the day at Rose's café, and then you called for an impromptu date. After that, he shared details about his day, mentioning some paperwork he had to sign because it seemed the Red Blood Pack wanted to collaborate on a project. My mind drifted back to Alpha Zephr. Was that what he was talking about earlier? Just then, the servers arrived and served our food. We began eating in comfortable silence. When we were done, Alpha Maverick pulled out a document and slid it toward me. "Here are the terms and conditions to mark the beginning of our contract marriage," he said. I picked up the document and read through the listed terms. No third parties, and several other stipulations. I smiled. Fair enough. After signing it, I pushed the paper back to him. The atmosphere shifted as his lips curved into a smirk, his droopy eyes glinting with something unspoken. The more time I spent with him, the harder it became to control my own urges. His presence alone made my body respond in ways I couldn't suppress. I knew he was struggling too. Alpha Maverick was a direct man. When he wanted something, he made it clear without pretense, and right now he was doing nothing to hide his desires. He moved toward me slowly, his fingers grazing my thigh. His touch burned through the fabric, igniting something deep within me. As he leaned in, his eyes locked on mine, inching closer for a kiss. I tilted my head, giving him easy access. Just as our lips were about to meet, his phone rang, shattering the moment. I swallowed hard, trying to mask my disappointment as I watched his brows furrow in irritation. "What?" He barked into the phone. His voice was sharp and commanding, a tone that signaled urgency. "I'm on my way." Ending the call, he met my gaze. "Violeta has been in an accident. If it's all right with you, would you accompany me?" "Don't worry. Go ahead," I replied, forcing my voice to stay even. He hesitated for a moment, as if considering arguing, but then nodded and rose from his seat. Before he could leave, I couldn't hold back any longer. I tried so hard. "Who exactly is Violeta to you?" He froze as I stared at his rigid back, which was still turned away from me. "She meant the world to Frank. I must help." His voice was flat, emotionless, almost robotic. Without another glance, he walked out, leaving me alone with a storm of unanswered questions. Who was Frank, and what did he mean by that? Jasmine. After Alpha Maverick left, I stayed back for a while, thinking about anything and everything, my mind full of unanswered questions. I opened the ride-sharing app on my phone and booked a cab. When it arrived, I gave the driver Alpha Maverick's home address without thinking too much about it. His home was home to me now. The house felt cold and empty without him. I walked straight to my room and fell on the bed, still wearing my clothes. I felt drained and upset. "Calm down, Jasmine. It's too early to feel this attached to him," I whispered, trying to convince myself. But it didn't help at all. The feeling refused to go away. I couldn't stop thinking about what Alpha Maverick was doing. The thought of him remained in my mind. Frustrated, I sat up and groaned loudly, covering my face with the pillow. "Why in this forsaken world do you have to feel this way, Jasmine?" I whispered angrily at myself for caring so much. Just when I closed my eyes to rest my mind, my phone rang loudly, pulling me out of my thoughts. Grunting, I reached for it and frowned at the unfamiliar number flashing on the screen. For a moment, I debated whether to answer or not, with my finger hovering over the screen. I decided to pick it up. "Hello," I said cautiously. "Hey," a not-so-familiar voice spoke from the other end. "I requested, and Rose shared your number." "Alpha Zephr?" I exclaimed as soon as I recognized the voice. A pleasant surprise. "Hope you don't mind," he added with a tentative tone that put me at ease. "Not at all." His call suddenly felt much needed, as though it was rescuing a nearly ruined evening. "I called to check on you and hope you made it home safely," he said, causing a small smile to tug at the corners of my lips. "Yes, I did. Thanks for asking. I believe you also had a productive day," I replied to him politely. "Oh yes, my day was hectic. I had a meeting with Grand Prime, and tomorrow I'm scheduled to meet the executives for a collaboration with my insurance company," he explained. I could almost picture him running his hand through his hair, a habit I had noticed in the short time we spent together. "That sounds great," I said, feeling more curious about his future collaboration with Grand Prime. He seemed enthused as he discussed Grand Prime's interest in collaborating with a new insurance company. Alpha Maverick seemed impressed by their innovative insurance proposal and agenda. We talked for a few more minutes before exhaustion hit me, and I stifled a yawn. He must have noticed because he gently said, "You should get some rest. You sound tired." I glanced at the clock and gasped. It was almost 2 a.m. How had time passed so quickly? "Good night," I whispered, feeling reluctant to end the call. "Sweet dreams," he teased, making me laugh softly before the line went dead. His feelings couldn't be hidden. After the phone call, I decided to change into something more comfortable. I washed my face, feeling too drained to bother with a full shower. The cool water helped clear my mind a little, though the fatigue remained. I dragged myself back to bed and sank into the soft mattress, pulling the covers over me. Before closing my eyes, I instinctively reached for my phone, checking for any notifications, maybe from someone. Nothing. Alpha Maverick still wasn't home. My chest felt a little tight with worry. What was taking him so long? Should I call him? The thought hung around for a moment, tempting me, but I quickly dismissed it. I didn't want to seem too attached or desperate. With a heavy sigh, I placed the phone back on the nightstand and turned on my side. There was something about Alpha Maverick that filled my mind with emotions I'd never felt before, not even with Logan, and these new feelings made me nervous. No matter how much I tried to push him out of my thoughts, his face remained on my mind. Where could he be? Despite my best efforts, sleep eventually claimed me. But even in my dreams, Alpha Maverick's presence was almost impossible to escape. Morning came a bit slower than usual, probably because I kept waking up every few hours through the night. My head pounded with a dull pain, and I groaned, forcing myself out of bed. Maybe a hot cup of tea would ease my mind. Dragging my feet to the kitchen, I stirred the cup of tea absent-mindedly, lost in my thoughts. Soon a familiar scent invaded my senses, the rich sandalwood I could never mistake. My wolf stirred restlessly within me, instantly on edge with conflicting feelings of jealousy and excitement. The scent became stronger now, closer. I slowly turned, already knowing what, or rather, who, I would see. There he was, approaching me with steady steps, Alpha Maverick. He still wore the same clothes from last night, slightly wrinkled and weathered, making it clear he hadn't been home all night. His usually sharp eyes were sunken, dark circles hinting at a sleepless night. His tousled hair fell messily over his forehead, giving him a rugged, tired look. He looked hot. He came to a stop beside me, his gaze drifting down to the cup I was still stirring. "Care for some?" I asked. For a moment, I just stared at him, my heartbeat accelerating as I studied his facial features. My fingers tightened around the spoon as emotions I couldn't quite name bubbled up inside me. I asked, and he nodded. Then I proceeded to make another cup. After handing it to him, he took a few sips and then muttered a thank you. "How is she?" I asked, taking another sip from my cup. "The one who's so dear to you." He furrowed his eyebrows in confusion for a moment before realization dawned, and a small smile tugged at his lips. "Violeta?" I nodded, trying to seem indifferent, though my heart twisted painfully. I didn't want him to know how much I cared or how deeply he affected me. He sighed and set his cup down on the kitchen island. I don't know. She's in critical condition, and at this point, I just hope her baby makes it. Oh no, I whispered, suddenly feeling awful. Whatever jealousy I'd felt melted away, replaced by genuine concern. I truly hoped her baby would survive. He studied me with an unreadable expression before stepping closer, closing the space between us until our bodies brushed. His eyes sparkled with mischief. I can feel the jealousy radiating off you, he teased, his voice low and teasing. I blinked, flustered. I'm not jealous. I just don't like being kept in the dark, I defended, though I wasn't sure who I was trying to convince, him or myself. His deep laugh sent shivers down my spine. Is my Luna greedy, wanting me all to herself? He murmured, his fingers gently threading through my hair. His touch ignited sparks across my skin, making it impossible to hide my reaction. Whatever you say, Jasmine, he added with a smirk, his Adam's apple bobbing as he chuckled softly. His voice was so irresistibly seductive that I had to curl my toes to steady myself. Violeta was the fiancée of my best friend, Frank, he said quietly, his tone shifting to something more serious. Was, I asked, a chill running through me. Did that mean they had separated? But then he continued, he died a few months ago. Oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear that, I gasped, my eyes widening in shock and sorrow. He gave me a small, sad smile. It's been rumored that some human rivals attacked him, but I strongly believe there's more to the story. I'm looking into it. The fire that broke out, it's strange. There's no clear cause for it. I felt my heart heavy with the weight of this news, my legs growing too heavy to stand. His explanation dug up a memory I had buried for a while. Because of the emotions the memory always stirred in me. I lost my parents in a similar way. A fire outbreak due to negligence, and they labeled it an accident. But shouldn't every accident have a root cause? Are you all right? What's wrong? Alpha Maverick called out, pulling me into a hug. I didn't even realize that tears were spilling from my eyes until I felt his shirt dampen. That was also the case with my parents, I said, my voice breaking. There were no traces leading to the cause of the fire, and it wasn't a witch's hex. The case was overlooked and closed, leaving me in doubt. He pulled back, attempting to wipe away my tears. I sniffled, trying to keep myself composed. My goal is to reopen the case and discover who was responsible for their deaths. As soon as I find my path, I will. He assured me that everything would be fine and that we would find our answers. However, I felt terrible for misunderstanding Violeta. I could imagine the pain she experienced after losing her significant other during what seemed to be an orchestrated outbreak. Now she had been in an accident, and her baby's life was at stake. I immediately let go of my resentment and felt compelled to visit and comfort her. What hospital is she admitted to? I asked him. Golden Blue Luxury. He mentioned that he wanted to freshen up and get some sleep since he hadn't gotten any rest the night before. I will check on her. Have a great rest, I said to him as I prepared to leave. He smiled and planted a soft kiss on my forehead. After getting ready, I headed straight to the University of Mimi to inquire about working under the renowned Professor Gabby in one of the most prestigious labs in the university. He was known for producing top-notch graduating students. Joining Professor Gabby's lab isn't an easy process. You will need to undergo a series of interviews, and you'll have to obtain recommendations from high-profile werewolves, the secretary explained. I knew I was up to the task. Academics were where I had my best strengths. I left and headed to the hospital, hoping Violeta would recover soon. It will be great to get some expert advice from her as someone who has more experience. Knowing her insights would be instrumental in my pursuit to join Gabby's lab. I provided her name at the reception and was directed to a private room. Upon reaching there, I met the door slightly open and I heard a bubbly voice conversing happily. My face contorted in confusion, and I wondered who was in there with her. Hopefully, she was much better. I paused at her door, peeping to be sure that I wasn't interfering. I leaned in closer, realizing it was none other than Violeta, speaking over the phone. Suddenly, her gaze snapped in my direction. Her eyes widened in shock as if she had seen a ghost, and without warning, she dropped the phone as though it burned her, clutching her head with trembling fingers. She let out painful gasps as she convulsed uncontrollably. It was too late. I already got her act. What the hell did I just witness? Was Violeta pretending to be sick? But what for? What was she hiding?